This is probably one of the most important videos I've ever made regarding manifestation. So listen up, okay? And I don't think I've really explained it in this way before, but the way that I've always explained it is you have your I am awareness, and then you have your mind, identity, ego, and then you have your physical body, your physical external 3D circumstances, right? But I want you to think about it in this way, okay? There is a spiritual plane, there is a mental plane, and then there is a physical plane. And I think other teachers and coaches have explained it in this way before, but I really want to go through this in how it applies to the way that I teach, which is the I am consciousness. So, spiritual plane, mental plane, physical plane. We kind of all have a conceptual idea of what it is. The physical plane involves the physical body that we have, right? The physical, tangible senses, the external reality we see around us. The mental plane is what we use in our imagination. You know, what we think about, how we feel, those sort of things. And then the spiritual plane is this source, this I am, what's underneath, what's behind the mind, the ego, okay? So let me break it down here, okay? So when we are manifesting something, most people approach it from the physical plane to the mental plane to the spiritual plane. So, or sometimes they don't even know about the mental plane or the spiritual plane. They just simply go, when they're unconscious to it, they simply go in the physical plane over and over and over again. And so they think that by doing these specific actions, that will lead them to the outcome that they desire to have. And then that is how they operate in this, well, whether they're manifesting or not manifesting, that's just life, how life is. The way that conscious manifestation works is from top down, okay? It's from the spiritual plane. So what is the spiritual plane? The spiritual plane, in how I like to define it, is where the I am, consciousness, source, God, energy, that inner state, that is what's behind the observer, basically. And we talk about this a lot, like observing your thoughts, observing who you are. So this I am source awareness, where we are all connected, that is the spiritual plane, okay? The mental plane is the mind, the ego, the identity, the state of being that you are embodying. That's who you are being when you are going into your imagination. That's who you trust yourself to be, know things to be true, using your mind, basically it's where the ego exists, where the mind is existing. And then, of course, the physical plane is the physical action that you take in this physical 3D world, this tangible, this external circumstance around you, right? So those are the three planes. So when you're consciously manifesting, you start from the top down. You start from the spiritual plane. You are I am awareness. You choose the identity that you wish to be, who you are being, right? And who you are being lies on the mental plane, the mind level, the ego level. So this plane is where you do your imagination. If it's not imagination, you just know that to be true. This is the mental plane. So it first goes from the spiritual plane, the I am awareness, you go to that first. Remember, when I'm talking about masks, I've talked about this a lot before. You're removing the mask of your mind, of your ego, of your identity. The old you, the old identity, that's the mental plane. You remove that. That's not who you truly are. When I say you become the observer of your thoughts, you're observing it from behind the thinker. Like there has to be a thinker of the thoughts, right? So you are the thinker. So you are observing it, but you are not on the mental plane. You are outside of the mental plane. You're from the spiritual plane. You're observing it. You're saying, no, that's not me. I detach from that. I am letting that go. Who's the I am? That's the I am consciousness. You're taking that mask off, and then you're putting a different mask on. That's your identity. That's your ego. This is on the mental plane, right? That you're operating from. And from that new identity that you've embodied, that you're now embodying, that can filter down into your physical plane. The actions that you take, right? The behaviors that come about, the circumstances that are around you, how you respond to those circumstances, that actually is part of the mental plane as well as the physical. But your physical actions come from the mental plane, right? From who you are being. So who you are being, the identity, the mind, the ego, that is actually in the mental plane. That's the second part of it. That's the bridge between the spiritual plane, which is your I am consciousness, at the very top, in filtering down to the mental plane, where you know who you are. And from that identity, you take actions in the physical 3D world related, basically the source of that, not just your actions, but your thoughts, your feelings, all those things come from your identity, your ego. It's all from the mental plane. And you choose that mental plane. You choose your identity, your ego, whatever you operate on the mental plane, from your spiritual plane. So as you can see, it's all connected. It's all top down. It's from your I am consciousness first, your awareness first, then it goes into the mental plane, which is your identity and your ego and your mind, and then your physical plane, which is your physical body, right? Your circumstances, external circumstances around you that you literally interact with physically. I hope this is sort of a condensed version of another way to kind of like put into words and frame how this all works, how conscious manifestation works, and how you can use it to apply it. Because, so how do you do it? You don't do it from the physical plane. You don't even do it from the mental plane. You start from the I am awareness. You start in the spiritual plane, and then you work your way down. Okay?